お茶飲んだり、お茶でウォーキングしたりとか、今最近だとチャリンコで運動したりとかいますけど。
Kazushi Sakuraba was once Japan's pride, a man who earned the name Gracie Killer and became a national icon in the world of mixed martial arts. His story began with celebration and ended in silent pain. At the peak of his fame, crowds screamed his name, banners were raised in his honor, and cameras followed his every move. But behind that public admiration, a darker truth unfolded. He wasn't just fighting men in the ring, he was being offered as a sacrifice for the entertainment of a nation. Over the years, he returned to the ring again and again until his body stopped obeying him. His bones cracked, his joints gave out, and still, no one told him to stop. Everyone watched, and they kept clapping. It all began with a single night, a match that changed his life forever. Long before the scars, before the limping, before the hollow look in his eyes, there was only the name, Kazushi Sakuraba, a name that echoed through stadiums, across newspapers, and into living rooms throughout Japan. He wasn't raised to fight like the men from Brazil's jiu-jitsu families or America's wrestling programs. He was a performer, a pro wrestler, trained to put on a show, not survive a real battle. When Pride Fighting Championships were forming in the late 1990s, they needed someone who could break the mold. They didn't want another copy of what already existed. They needed someone who could represent the heart of Japan and stand against the near-mythical strength of the Gracie family, the founders of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. When they looked at Sakuraba, they saw more than a fighter. They saw a character, a spirit, a possible national legend. And Sakuraba stepped forward, smiling, ready, unaware of what that decision would cost him. Nobody believed he would win. He was expected to lose against the Gracie family men who had never known defeat.
Just scoring this bout from ringside from Florida, Richard Burt.
But on May 1st, 2000, Sakuraba did the impossible. Inside the Tokyo Dome, in front of a roaring crowd, he faced Royce Gracie in a match with no time limits and no interruptions. The fight dragged on for 90 minutes, back and forth. No escape, just pressure and pain. And finally, when Gracie's corner threw in the towel, Japan exploded in joy. That victory was more than just a win in the ring. It was a moment of pride for an entire nation. Sakuraba was celebrated like a warrior returning from battle. Newspapers declared the victory a national achievement. Fighters bowed to him. Fans cried in the stands. Promoters saw not just a star, but a gold mine. From that moment on, Sakuraba became more than a man. He became a living symbol of resistance and honor. But that symbol came at a price. Because while heroes are worshipped, they are also used. That night, something else was born too. A quiet, invisible contract. He had committed to pain without even knowing it. He wasn't allowed to walk away. Even when his body cried out, even when his joints screamed with every move, he had to go on. The crowd only saw the orange shorts, the playful walk to the ring, and the grin. They didn't see what came after the bruises that never healed, the memory lapses, the pain that never left. The wins continued, but each one took a little more from him. And slowly, piece by piece, he began to fade. But Japan didn't see it, or maybe they didn't want to, because as his body broke down, the legend grew. Pride FC wasn't just a fighting organization, it was a spectacle. A billion-yen empire built on power, drama, and myth. And at its heart was Sakuraba, small, wiry, with a smile on his face and battered hands. He didn't care about weight classes. He didn't ask for equal footing. He fought men 40, 60, even 80 pounds heavier than him. Why? Because the fans loved it. They loved watching him fight giants. They loved watching him fall and get up, over and over. And pride gave them what they wanted. They sent him to face monsters. Igor Vovchanchin, Rampage Jackson, Kimo Leopoldo. Men known for their power, their aggression, and their size. And Sakuraba went anyway. No hesitation, just a deep breath and a walk into the storm. He became something holy in Japan. Not just a fighter, but a man who represented the unbreakable spirit. People didn't just admire him, they worshipped him. They saw him as the embodiment of Bushido, the ancient warrior code. But even the strongest code can't protect a human body from breaking. There were no breaks, no time to heal.
Today I want to talk about a very important figure in mixed martial arts and martial arts in general.
He limped into the ring with knees taped up, muscles barely holding together. And still, he said yes. Always yes. The fans applauded louder the more he suffered. They didn't want victory. They wanted drama, pain, struggle. And Sakuraba gave them all of it. But the damage couldn't be hidden forever. By the early 2000s, the pain began to show. He was winning less. He was moving slower. But the audience didn't turn away. They leaned in. The blood, the broken bones, the collapses, these became part of the show. And then, pride gave him Wanderlei Silva. This wasn't just another fight, it was destruction. In 2001, Silva was in his prime, fast, vicious, and relentless. Sakuraba was already worn down. His body was a map of old injuries. His neck barely held together. His knees were barely functional. And still, he entered the ring. It didn't take long. Silva kneed him in the face, breaking his orbital bone. Then came the elbows, the punches. The referee had to force Silva off. Sakuraba's shoulder hung at his side, completely dislocated. He was rushed out, battered, and broken. Doctors told him to stop. His corner pleaded with him.
Look at the stare down, guys.
He was back.
What scary it must be looking in the eyes of the ex-murderer.
I'll
tell you what, this is, it's hard to won't affect the style one way or the other. He's going to play it as it comes, and we are underway. And there's a left that connects by Sakuraba, and then they exchange blows.
All in front of fans who still filled the arenas and cheered his name. By now, he wasn't fighting to win. He was being sent in to survive. But it didn't end there.
Density in it.
Next came Ricardo Arona, a different kind of fighter. Arona didn't rely on punches. He was a grappler. But that night, he didn't need to submit Sakuraba.
So keep your head on your shoulders now.
And for 15 minutes, that's exactly what he did. Sakuraba didn't fight back. He didn't strike. He didn't resist. He was tossed, pinned, flattened. His eyes swelled shut. His face was bruised. And still, nobody stepped in. Halfway through the fight, it was clear he wasn't trying to win anymore. He was just trying to make it through. The crowd went quiet. The commentators lowered their voices. Everyone could see what was happening. No one stopped him. He whispered between rounds, "Okay." He wasn't. The match ended. Arona had won every second. Sakuraba sat in his corner, barely breathing. And yet, he kept going. There were more fights, more punishment, more silence. He patched himself together with tape and painkillers. His bones were hard from damage. His ears swelled into grotesque shapes. Still, he returned. He fought younger men, stronger men, faster men. And the gap only widened. In one match, a knee to the face didn't even register. He didn't react. Not because he was fearless, but because he didn't see it coming.
Here it goes.
His reaction time was gone. But the fans didn't know that. They cheered anyway. Even when Pride fell and other promotions rose, they still used him. He was a relic, a reminder of a golden era. And promoters knew people would pay to see him one more time. Always one more time. Doctors warned him about permanent injury. His spine was collapsing. He was risking paralysis. He smiled and kept going. Kazushi Sakuraba didn't just fight opponents. He fought time. He fought memory. He fought culture. And he lost. Quietly. That's the tragedy.